Good day, everyone. It's Paul Tilley, and I want to welcome you to our topic 3, which is developing marketing strategy. So here we are now. We're looking at our marketing unit, and we're thinking about how do we get the material that we produce or the services that we produce, how do we get them in front of our customers? So the real trick is we need to develop a plan. Okay, we need to develop a plan that involves listening to what the consumers want, determining what the most likely consumers are going to be in terms of who's going to buy this product, and then taking marketing actions to appeal to those consumers. So, this is a very systematic process. Okay, we'll call it a systematic process. And what I want to take you through today in this topic is the system for this process. Without any further ado, then let's take a look at this idea of marketing strategy. This is a term that you hear beat around in the media all the time, and I want to make you aware that the word strategy is nothing more than a plan. Okay, it is an operational plan on how you're going to achieve some goal. A goal is a target that you want to hit somewhere in the future. You have a goal to sell more product, or to increase your customer base, or do something at some point in time in the future to achieve it. The strategy is how are you going to achieve it. So it's the interim steps. Okay. So successful marketing strategy, first and foremost, starts with our future customers. We need to be able to think of ourselves as starting our business and think, who are our potential customers out there? Let's take a look at who they are. So a business's customers are the reason that your firm exists. Without those customers, really, your firm is nothing. There is no customer, there will be no firm. So the product or service really has to appeal to those customers. So those customers will say, yeah, I'd like to buy this. So the basic question that we need to ask ourselves is, who are we going to sell this to? Who are our customers? We've got to find out everything we can about them. So our potential customers, we can group them into what we call segments, and segments are people with similar needs. So, for example, people who, if we build houses, let's assume that we're house builders. Well, what we really want to think about is who is in the market for houses. Who are the potential people out there in the market for houses? That's our customer. Those are the people that we would certainly want to appeal to most. Really, if we think about strategy can be broken down into 3 distinct segments. The very first segment is the planning segment. This is before we do anything. A lot of mental activity goes into planning, and planning is probably the most important part of the whole process. Okay, so when we think about planning a strategy to market our activities, some of the things we need to talk about is, what is it that we have that's unique or beneficial to our customers? The SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, is a tool that was developed many years ago, but has been one of those go-to tools in business for years. Essentially, how it works is it takes a look internally first, and it says, what are our, internally within our firm that we have control over, what are our basic strengths? What are the things that we can do better than anyone else? And this is where I use the term relative strengths. So we have to ask ourselves, what are our relative strengths? So here's the important part of this. It's not a strength unless it's relatively better, or we do it better than someone else. Okay? So the word relative is very important. So if we're a house builder, for example, we ask ourselves, what is our relative strength? We could say things like, well, we have the people who have the best tools, or we have the people who have the best knowledge, or the best contacts. These are what are called relative strengths, because if you have a company and I have a company and we have exactly the same strengths, there's no difference between us. So relatively, if you have better tools, better people, and better contacts, you are more likely to succeed than I will. Okay. Then, once we figure out what our strengths are, we have to look at our weaknesses. What are the things that we're not as good at as everyone else? And those should be pretty obvious, because we'll look at our competitors and we'll say, they have better X or better Y or better Z. Those are things that we can manage because we recognize that we've got a problem there and we can address them. Okay? The backside is the opportunities and threats. And when we think about opportunities and threats, those are external to us, meaning we have no control over them, or relatively little control over them. Opportunities are things that appear. If the economy picks up, for example, and Alberta oil goes high and the Newfoundland oil industry increases, there might be a lot of people looking for houses. That's what we consider an opportunity. We have no effect on the oil industry, the price of oil, or anything, but we can benefit from that change. Okay? A threat is a thing that can happen that is outside of our control, that is very negative towards us. Okay, as I record this, for example, the coronavirus has been all the talk in the media, and that's certainly affecting companies that are in the tourism business, cruises, for example, or airlines. Nobody wants to go on a cruise, and nobody wants to fly. That's a serious threat to the airline industry and the cruise ship industry. And if this lasts for a long time, you will certainly see several airlines fail, and you will see several cruise lines fail, because the threat is something that comes out of the blue that can damage your company. And what you not need to be able to do is predict or anticipate the threats and plan against them. Okay, that's a SWOT analysis. So now that you've got the SWOT analysis done, you know what strengths, what your weaknesses are, what are some of the potential opportunities, what are some of the potential threats. And from having done that, you should be able to set some goals. Okay. Now, goal setting in and of itself is a pretty straightforward process, but the problem with it is a lot of people don't set really good goals. Okay. What I want to look at now is something called the SMART process. And what the SMART process allows you to do is to develop better goals. SMART is an acronym for a bunch of terminologies. First, all goals should be S in SMART, specific. A specific goal means that you've really targeted the goal. Here's exactly what I want to do. Okay? If your goal is not very specific, it's very hard to know whether or not you'll achieve it or not. So set a specific goal. And specific means that it's well defined, well thought out, and well laid so that anyone looking at it will say, yeah, that's where we're going. Okay. That's the first one. The second one is M. M stands for measurable. All our goals have to be absolutely measurable. What that means is it's fine for me to say my goal is to build a house. But really, you might ask me, what kind of house do you want? A very small house, say a little micro house that I could build on my desk, or a big 15-room mansion? So what we need to be able to do is set our goals measured. We need to say, this is what I want to achieve, and this is exactly the number, okay? So in terms of measurable, we could think about things like size, shape, time. All these factors are what are called measurable factors. We will know we will achieve the goal because we can simply measure it. No different. You can put a measuring tape on something and say, yeah, that's the right length. The other thing that we need to look at, and the next one would be A, is that our goals need to be attainable. Is it a realistic goal? Ask yourself, in light of your strengths and weaknesses, are the goals that you set for your company attainable? Do you have enough resources or enough talent or enough time in order to achieve this particular goal? If it's not reasonable, then you'll never achieve it, and that will lead to disappointment. So you need good, solid goals, yes, that are challenging, but not so out of whack with your abilities that you can never achieve them. The next one is R. R is for relevancy. We need relevant goals. Are the goals you're setting relevant to your business being successful? Do they achieve the goal of making money and doing the things that your business is supposed to do? Ask yourself, everything you do, is this relevant to my business? If for example, you're in the house building business and suddenly you thought, I should build some furniture. Do house building and furniture building relate to one another? Yes, I'm sure they do in some degree, but what should be your core focus? Well, if you're a house builder, all your core focus should be on building houses or things related to building houses. And finally, and probably the most important one, is the T. T stands for time. You need to put some sort of a time limit on all of your goals. You need to say that your goal is going to be met within 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. So you need some time to achieve that goal, and that will give you some focus. Again, very important to have that focus. So make sure when you set goals that you're using SMART in order to give you better goals. So once we've done a SWOT analysis, we can then make our marketing mix to fit. If the economy is doing really well, our prices could be a little higher. If the economy is not doing so well, our prices need to be a little lower. So if we think about a SWOT, once we've done the SWOT, we're going to say, okay, look, we got the product, who's going to buy it, considering the environment that's out there. We got the price, as I say, the price is high, price is low. We got the promotion for the product. How are we going to be able to communicate that we're selling this product to people? Are there better ways than others? Which way should we choose? We'd also take a look at where we're going to sell the product to, what we call the place function. Are we going to sell it in a store? Are we going to sell it online? Are we going to bring it to people's doors? Are we going to ask them to come look for it? These are some issues that we really need to think about from the point of view of the plan. Okay. Once we have done this plan, as I say, that's the most important part in our strategy, is to do this planning. And it requires brain work, and it requires sitting down and giving a lot of thought. Once we've got the planning out of the way, then we move into implementation, which is also very important because a plan without implementation is of no value. So implementation is really the next stage of business strategy, which is a plan to say, how are we going to sell this product or do the things that we said we're going to do in the planning stage? So if we think about what we need to obtain resources. If we're going to say we need a storefront, for example, we need a storefront. We have to either buy or rent space in order to make a storefront. So we're going to have to obtain those resources. We're going to have to develop some marketing content. We're going to get the message out to our chosen customers. What is it we're selling? How much are we selling it for? Where are we selling it to? These are some of the questions that we need to have answered in our marketing content. Then we also need to schedule that content. How are we going to get that out? At what time are we going to produce that information? Is selling houses in the middle of winter a really good idea? Or would you start selling it promoting it in the spring for a summer build? These are important questions that need to be considered. We also need to think about, how are we actually going to do all this now? If we're set up to build houses, we darn well better have carpenters available to build the houses. So execution is always critical in the implementation stage. Once we've got implementation done, then we need to say to ourselves, okay, what went well and what went not so well? The final stage of the strategic process is learning from our mistakes or building on our what went well. So the control phase, that third stage, is really looking at what is happening, what has happened, and could we improve on it? So it's this constant reflection in order to do a better job next time. So the control stage is very important. And the good thing with the control stage that is ongoing is if things are not going well, you can make changes as you go along. So this feedback loop allows you to make changes. So if, for example, you're advertising selling houses and nobody's coming or nobody is asking you to build a house, then we have to think about, is this working? Is this the best way to do this? Can we do it a better way? Okay, so that is the strategic planning process in a nutshell. We have a lot of planning up front, an implementation phase, and a control. The idea of control is to make sure implementation is working as per the plan or adjusting the plan to make it work for you. So this unit really is most focused on this process, and I think that what I want you to take away from it is to be able to use this process for your own business purposes. Now, what I have is a little case, and I want you to take a look at the case from the point of view of all the things we just discussed. And we'll talk about that within the course. Thanks for joining me. And as usual, if you have any